Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining us from, and welcome to today's low flow anesthesia virtual demo. Before I welcome Fred to the floor here, I just wanted to cover a few housekeeping notes to help you all get the most out of your experience today. So first, if it's not already open on your screen, click the chat button to open your interactivity panel. You'll know it's open when you see a panel at the right side of your screen with 4 headings: chat, Q&A, polls, and handouts. We want this to be an interactive experience for you, so please send any questions, thoughts, or comments to us using that Q&A tab, and we'll try to address as many of your questions as we can at the end of the demo today. When a question is added in that Q&A panel, you can upvote that question to increase its position on my list by clicking a little thumbs up button underneath it. This is super helpful, so I know which questions to ask first. And then you can also explore some of the documents in the handouts tab. There's a few links in there, so you can learn a little bit more about the systems that you'll see today. And lastly, if you're having any technical issues, you can refresh your browser. That usually tends to fix things. And if not, please ensure that you're using Google Chrome to access this event, as it's the most stable browser. Like I said, if you're still having trouble though after that, you can use the private chat function to communicate with me by sending a chat to Inside Scientific Events team, and I can help you to troubleshoot. And so, to get things started, I am going to welcome Fred to the floor. Fred, take it away whenever you're ready.
All right, will do. Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Frederick, and I am a regional sales and support representative for Kent Scientific based in San Diego. First off, thank you for taking the time to hang out with me during this webinar and giving me the opportunity to speak to you. Also, a huge thank you to both Sarah and Sydney from Inside Scientific for all their help in putting together this webinar and making everything run as smoothly as possible. So today I will be speaking to you. Let me go ahead and switch that. There you go. Today I will be speaking to you about the SomnoSuite and SomnoFlow systems, which are the low-flow electronic vaporizer anesthesia systems from Kent Scientific. Although they are two different systems with their own unique features and benefits, both use innovative technology to provide anesthesia precisely and safely. Both the SomnoSuite and SomnoFlow low-flow electronic vaporizer systems provide advantages over traditional high-flow vaporizers. The anesthetic concentration and flow rate delivery is based on the animal's weight. Whereas traditional canister-style vaporizers contain wicks, dials, and other moving parts that need to be calibrated and recertified to maintain accuracy, both the Somno systems use solid-state electronics to ensure accuracy, and they do not require annual certification. This precise delivery ensures both animal and user safety. Another benefit of these systems is that they allow you to use either compressed gas or ambient air as your carrier gas. This is a great feature to have, especially if your procedures do not require oxygen. You might lack the space needed for gas tanks, or you get tired of people stealing your gas tanks and leaving them empty on you, which has happened to me many times. There we go. The SomnoSuite itself is 11 inches length by 8 inches deep and 3 inches high, weighs about 4 pounds, making it very light and portable, allowing you to set it up on a bench top, in a hood, or even take it from lab to lab real easily. It uses a precision syringe pump to deliver precise amounts of anesthesia, and as mentioned previously, its integrated electronic vaporizer can use either ambient air or compressed gas to deliver anesthesia. And because of the low flow rate of the system, you can save on the amount of anesthetic and compressed gas used over time. Since small amounts of anesthesia is being used, waste gas exposure is reduced for the users. All of the SomnoSuites are equipped with the right temp module, which is a temperature monitoring and homeothermic control that uses far infrared warming. But you can outfit your SomnoSuite with additional physiological modules depending on your needs. I'll speak more on this a little bit later. The SomnoSuite has an intuitive touchscreen control. Both the flow rate and anesthesia percentage are displayed in large numbers, as you can see in the little diagram here. You have your flow rate on the left side and your anesthesia percentage on the right side. Along the top are tabs for additional modules that can be added. And let me see if I can point that out. Here you have your remove button. Ooh, sorry, I'm really terrible at drawing things. Here you have your remove button. This is what you tap when you need to fill or refill your syringe. The glass syringe is filled with your anesthesia, and your prime button, which is down here in the lower right corner, is used for preparing the pusher block to deliver the anesthesia itself. When you are ready to anesthetize your animal, you will touch the nose cone or induction buttons to turn on the airflow, followed by the deliver button to deliver the anesthesia. Both the nose cone and induction buttons can be preset in the setup tab. And when you are ready to remove the animal from the induction chamber, we have a flush button. This will add a layer of air into the chamber with no anesthesia to reduce waste gas exposure when you open up the induction chamber. Here we go. So I've been hinting at it the past few slides, and you're probably thinking, but Frederick, what are the other modules that we can add to the SomnoSuite? Well, the SomnoSuite itself comes loaded with the right temp homeothermic warming modules for ventilation, and we plan on monitoring tidal CO2 have the CapnoScan module as well.
Hold on, Fred.
Okay.
We seem to have lost you a little bit. I'm just going to wait for your internet connection to pick back up. Okay, you're back. If you want to just kind of repeat that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, you can hear me now, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, good. So yes, so what I was talking about, yes, we were going over the other additional modules that you can add to the SomnoSuite. So the SomnoSuite itself already comes loaded with the right temp homeothermic warming module. If you're interested in current and pulse oximetry monitoring, you can add the mousestat module. For ventilation, you can add the RowVent. And finally, if you plan on looking at end tidal CO2 monitoring, you can add the CapnoScan module. So now I'll go ahead and play a quick video for you that will look at the low-flow vaporizer systems.
Kent Scientific's low-flow electronic vaporizers offer numerous benefits compared to traditional vaporizer systems. Both the SomnoFlow and SomnoSuite systems offer high precision, increased safety for personnel and animals, and significant annual cost savings. With an electronic touchscreen interface, both systems allow precise control of anesthetic output to 0.1%. Traditional vaporizers rely on passive vaporization of anesthetics and require minimum flow rates and annual calibration services to maintain their accuracy. The SomnoSuite and SomnoFlow systems are programmed with a gram to mole conversion of liquid anesthetic. The system automatically determines the volume of anesthetic required to reach the desired concentration in the carrier gas stream. Because anesthetic delivery is mathematically driven and there are no wicks or gaskets to service, no annual calibration or certifications are required. Both of our Somno low-flow electronic vaporizers can be connected to a compressed gas source, but neither require the use of compressed gas to deliver inhalant anesthetics. Their included internal pump draws in ambient air, giving users the option to anesthetize animals in settings where gas tanks are not available or not feasible to use. The SomnoSuite is designed as an all-in-one modular surgical solution and can be programmed with integrated warming, pulse oximeter, ventilator, and capnography capabilities. This eliminates the need for multiple controllers and separate computers in the surgical suite.
This protocol highlights best uses for an all-inclusive anesthesia and physiological monitoring suite that includes a low-flow electronic vaporizer, an integrated ventilator, a pulse oximeter, and a far-infrared warming pad.
Kent Scientific's Somno electronic vaporizers have several advantages over traditional anesthesia systems, including an integrated internal pump, increased precision, less waste gas, and no annual maintenance requirements. For more information about the SomnoFlow and SomnoSuite systems, please contact your local Kent Scientific representative.
So now I will take you through some SomnoSuite, take you through some various SomnoSuite system setups. Here in this diagram, you can see we have the the SomnoSuite connected to one induction chamber and one face mask. Let me get my pen up real quick. Here we go. Okay, so in this blue line, this is our inspiration line. It'll come from, whoa, wacky doodle. It'll come from the vapor block and will split into two branches, each leading to the induction chamber as well as the face mask. From there, the expiration line here in red will come from the induction chamber as well as a face mask and lead to the expiration line passively until it reaches the WAG canister. Perfect. And if you decide to use compressed gas, notice in this insert here, we have our preset pressure reducer connected between the two systems, between the compressed gas as well as the SomnoSuite. The important thing to note is that if you do decide to use the compressed gas, the incoming pressure must not exceed 15 psi. So we have the the preset pressure reducer to reduce the pressure down to 15 psi, so you can operate your SomnoSuite optimally. In this diagram, we use a three accessory adapter. So that way you can connect your one induction chamber as well as two animals to your single setup here. Doing so will kind of give you an additional station to work from if you plan on doing more than one mouse or more than one animal at a time. For studies using a ventilator, this diagram shows how you can connect the SomnoSuite to a standalone ventilator, such as our row vent system. If you plan on performing stereotaxic surgeries, the SomnoSuite can also interface with your stereotaxic frame, again, using the two accessory adapter. All right, so from here, we're going to go ahead and talk about the SomnoFlow. I like to consider the SomnoFlow like the little brother to the SomnoSuite. It's a compact standalone anesthesia delivery system that utilizes either ambient air or compressed gas as a carrier for anesthesia. Measures about 6 inches length by 6 inches wide and 9 inches high and weighs about 5 pounds. Again, this makes it real easy to transport and set up anywhere, such as the benchtop or the hood or just carrying between the labs. What's different about the SomnoFlow compared to the SomnoSuite is that the anesthesia sources directly from the bottle and primes automatically, allowing you to start your procedures soon after powering on the system. So like the SomnoSuite, again, the SomnoFlow gives you choice to use either ambient air or compressed gas. It achieves flow rates as low as 100 mils per minute, thereby matching closer to the minute volume of a mouse compared to traditional vaporizers. This leads to less waste gas exposure and increases safety to the users while decreasing the amount of anesthesia and waste gas filters used over time. The SomnoFlow does not rely on the wick-based delivery system as seen in traditional vaporizers, and because of this, there is also no need for annual calibration or certification, thus cutting down on your yearly costs associated with these. So now I'm going to go ahead and play another video for you, which will focus on the SomnoFlow setup and a basic protocol.
This video will provide the instructions necessary to set up and begin using the Kent Scientific SomnoFlow low-flow electronic vaporizer. We'll take you through setup requirements, equipment use, and a protocol for anesthetizing an average-size C57 BL6 mouse. Along the way, we'll highlight some of the features that will benefit you in your research. Setup instructions are also provided in the user's guide. To begin setting up the SomnoFlow, connect the inspiratory portion of the two accessory connector to the SomnoFlow's port labeled out. Connect the inspiratory portion of the face mask tubing to one branch and the inspiratory chamber tubing to the other branch. Connect the expiratory portion of the two accessory connector to the expiratory tubing on the chamber and nose cone. If using a stereotaxic frame, select one of the included stereotaxic adapters to attach to the two accessory connectors on the ports of your stereotaxic gas anesthesia mask. Attach the charcoal canister using the charcoal canister tubing. The SomnoFlow can deliver anesthesia without the need for compressed gas. If you're using ambient air from the system's internal pump, leave the air inlet open. If you wish to use a compressed gas source, use the compressed gas assembly to connect a pressure-regulated gas source to the SomnoFlow's compressed gas port. The inlet pressure should not exceed 15 psi. Connect the included bottle top adapter to a bottle of anesthetic. Connect the delivery tubing to the bottle top adapter and place the anesthetic bottle into the holder. Turn on the SomnoFlow to begin the automatic priming sequence. The system will draw anesthetic directly from the bottle and prepare the system for delivery. Once priming is complete, touch Menu to enter the preset settings. There are 3 presets available to save your preferred settings. Low flow is best used for anesthetic maintenance, high flow is best used for induction, and purge is best used to reduce excess anesthetic in the induction chamber. The SomnoFlow will save all of your settings, but you can return to this menu at any time to adjust the preset options. Even though you have entered flow rates and anesthetic concentrations for each phase, you can still adjust these parameters during anesthesia delivery from the run screen. Now that your tubing is set up and settings are saved, you're ready to begin anesthetizing an animal. Adjust the clips to direct airflow to the induction chamber. Place the animal in the induction chamber and touch high flow. The SomnoFlow will begin delivery at the settings you've selected in your high flow presets. Use the dials to make adjustments to the flow rate or anesthetic concentration as needed. When the animal is fully anesthetized, touch high flow again to stop delivery. If desired, purge the chamber using the purge feature. Remove the animal from the chamber and position on the nose cone. Be sure to adjust the clips to direct the airflow to the nose cone. Touch low flow to resume anesthetic delivery. When you're finished with the procedure, touch low flow again to stop delivery and recover the animal. When you're finished using the system for the day, touch Menu, Anesthetic Control, and Empty to empty the anesthetic from the SomnoFlow. Once complete, you may remove the anesthetic bottle from the system. Remove the bottle top adapter and replace the manufacturer's cap onto the anesthetic bottle.
All right, so hope you enjoyed that video. Okay, so now I will take you through some various SomnoFlow setups. So in this diagram, we see another typical setup with the induction chamber and face mask using the 2 accessory adapter. We have the anesthesia outlet here again in blue, in blue, which is the inspiratory line leading both to the face mask as well as the induction chamber. And we also, leading out from the induction chamber and the face mask, is the expiratory line marked in red, passively carrying any waste gases to your WAG canister. Similar to the SomnoSuite, the incoming pressure must not exceed 15 psi if you plan to use a compressed gas. So again, we have our preset pressure reducer here connecting the compressed gas tank to the SomnoFlow. And here again, we have the diagram showing you how a 3 accessory adapter can be used to connect the SomnoFlow to 1 induction chamber and 2 face masks, giving you again an additional station to work from. And if you decide to use a ventilator for your studies, this diagram shows how you can connect the SomnoFlow to a standalone ventilator system. And if you are performing stereotaxic surgeries, the SomnoFlow can also interface with your stereotaxic frames using this 2 accessory adapter. So throughout this presentation, you have seen the features and benefits of our low flow anesthesia systems. They are simple to use and are able to deliver precise amounts of anesthesia. The safety benefit of the SomnoSuite and SomnoFlow come from the small amounts of anesthetic used. Using less anesthetic produces less waste gases, and leads to greater safety to both your animals and your operators. All right, so at this time, we will take any questions that you may have. I also wanted to quickly point out to the handout section on your screen. There you have some PDFs that you can download that talk about both the SomnoFlow and the SomnoSuite. There is also a link to the Kent Scientific Video Library where you can view the videos that you've seen here today on the webinar, as well as videos to our other systems that we offer.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that, Fred.
Mm-hmm.
Before we take any questions, I am going to run some polls. So I'm just going to give you a second to catch your breath and get a sip of water. And so the first of the 3 polls is, what physiological parameters do you currently monitor during your surgeries? So there's a bunch of options here: heart rate, pulse oximetry, blood pressure, ECG, temperature, and end tidal CO2. So please take a moment to answer that question. And while you are doing that, I'll encourage you to head over to the Q&A panel. Love to get any questions you have about the systems, and Fred will address them in a few minutes. Already got a few questions coming in, so that is great. Okay. And next polling question here is, which anesthetic do you usually use? Isoflurane, sevoflurane, or injectable? Okay, fantastic. Give you guys a couple more seconds on that poll. And then I will move on to the last polling question. So this polling question is, do you regularly find the need to provide supplemental oxygen during your surgeries? Always, sometimes, or rarely? So I'd love to get your feedback here, everyone. Thanks so much for being here and for participating. Okay, and Fred, if you're ready, let's tackle some of these questions.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question here is, do you supply all of the tubing? And can you use both oxygen and nitrogen-oxygen gas mixtures for the compressed gas?
Okay, let's see. All right, so let's start with the first question. Do you supply all the tubings? Yes. So when you purchase a SomnoFlow, we supply all the basic tubings you need to get started right away. We also sell a starter kit, which comes with an induction chamber, an additional 3 accessory connector. And let's see. And in terms of the stereotaxic system, or connecting to a stereotaxic, we do have adapters that we provide you when you purchase the SomnoFlow system as well. Can we use both O2 and N2O gas mixture? So off the top of my head, I know that it has been done. There is a little more tweaking that we'll have to do with the systems. That is something that we'll have to talk to you a little bit more detailed at another time outside of this workshop, so we can discuss your study exactly and kind of get to know what you're trying to do, so we can help you kind of create that type of gas controller for mixed gas supply.
Perfect. So yeah, Fred's email is up on this page, so you can actually reach out to him if you'd like and you can get a little bit more information. Okay, next question. This question is, how easy is it to adjust the flow rate in the middle of a procedure? Does the system respond quickly?
All right, so thank you, Damalola. So it is actually fairly easy to adjust the flow rate in the middle of the procedure. In that last video you saw for the SomnoFlow, you have your preset buttons that you can use for your flow rate. That will have your preset flow rates for either the face mask or the induction chamber. But as we know, sometimes you get that rogue animal that just doesn't want to stay down or whatnot. So while the procedure is running, you can actually use the dials on the SomnoFlow to adjust both either the percentage flow rate or the the percent isoflurane or the flow rate as well. On the SomnoSuite, you just have to, I believe you tap the button, one of the dials, and then adjust your flow rate as necessary. And I don't know if you saw in the pictures of the SomnoSuite, but there's also a big dial on kind of right next to the syringe that actually controls your percent ISO as well. So you can turn those up or down as needed for your procedures.
Perfect. Okay, next question here is, if you get a SomnoFlow, do you have to purchase the right temp device separately?
Correct. Hello, Sophie. So yes, if you do get the SomnoFlow, you do have to purchase the right temp device separately. The SomnoFlow was kind of created as a result of some of our customers saying that they love the SomnoSuite, but they kind of want just a system, just the anesthesia on its own. So unfortunately, if you do purchase a SomnoFlow, you do have to purchase the right temp device separately. We do offer the right temp in several of our products. You could have it as a standalone system known as the Right Temp Junior. You could have it as, or if you prefer, you could purchase the SomnoSuite, which will have the Right Temp module already included. And we also have a warming pad controller that's just for warming as well.
Okay, great. Another question here is, how does the flow rate affect the ISO percent needed? High flow rate would need less ISO, ? Just trying to get my head around it a bit.
Yeah, no worries, Mike. So basically, the flow rate doesn't affect the ISO percent needed. So as you're adjusting the flow rate, the system will automatically adjust for the percent ISO as well. So that way, if you have it set on 2%, it will stay at 2% no matter what your flow rate will be.
Okay, perfect. All right, next question here is, if you're using the multiple animal setup, let's say 3, what flow rate would be recommended as the setting? If one is set as low flow to be more of a maintenance rate, and one is set as high flow for induction, which should be best?
Gotcha. All right. Hello, Kelly. So one thing to realize is that your SomnoFlow or your SomnoSuite, it's a single vaporizer. So whatever flow rate and percentage you are using for your system, that is the only flow rate and percent ISO that will be used throughout the entire system. So let's see, let me make sure I'm answering this correctly. What flow rate would be recommended as a setting? So in terms of a multiple animal setup, you'll kind of need to adjust it as necessary toward your particular lab. So if you have it, say, set at, for maintenance, 200 mils per minute at, say, 2%, you could keep that setting for all three of your animals. If one is set as low flow to be more of a maintenance, and one is set which should be set. All right, perfect. So in this case, let's say you are using 3 animals. You can use the high flow for inducing your animals all at once. And then once you transfer them to your face mask, you can then set it to the low flow to kind of maintain the flow rate, or for maintenance of the anesthetic plane. Again, you can adjust it as necessary depending on how your animals are reacting at that particular time. So yeah, hopefully that answered it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. This is a long question. I don't know if you're seeing that one from Patrick. So if ambient air is used as a carrier gas, is there any connection necessary, or does it just use air from around the device? So we'll start with that one.
All right. So hello, Patrick, by the way. If ambient air is used as carrier gas, is there any connection necessary? Correct. So yes, when you're using the ambient air as the carrier gas, you just use the air surrounding environmental air. There is no other connection necessary. when you do receive your system, it will have a little protector plug that sits over the port. So before you use ambient air, just make sure that you pull that off, or it will kind of recognize it as a blockage of the port. And then any other carrier gas? Yep.
Yeah, there's a second part of that. So any other carrier gas necessary, or is air enough?
Gotcha.
And there's a couple more after
Yeah.
that.
I see those. Any other carrier gas necessary? Nope. So when you are using your ambient air, the ambient air is enough for you. Can you maybe show more pictures from the stereotaxic adapter to see if it is adequate for our stereotaxic setup? Let's see. I don't know if I can pull one up in time for it, but if you contact me, I will send you some more pictures of how the stereotaxic adapters look like for that comes with the SomnoSuite and SomnoFlow.
Perfect. So Patrick, reach out to Fred. His email is up on the screen now.
Yep. And then your last question, how long does a SomnoSuite last more or less with a 10 mil syringe? So we do have a chart that I could also send to you that kind of gives you a rough estimate of how long you expect the syringe to last. So let's say you're at a flow rate of around, let me see this. Say for 100 mils per minute at 2%, you can kind of expect your syringe, your 10 mil syringe, to last at around 16 hours or so.
Perfect. All right. Next question here is the wait time for ISO to reach the induction chamber wasn't addressed. Is that variable, or is it always about 5 to 10 minutes?
Hello, Deborah. Nice to see you. So yes, the wait time for ISO to reach the induction chamber wasn't addressed. Is that variable or always 5 to 10 minutes? Especially if you're starting, if you're kind of like the first person to use the system for the day, we usually say to kind of give it about, up to 5 minutes to kind of make sure that your ISO is flowing through the chamber or whatnot. Otherwise, if you put your animal directly into the induction chamber and you just start it right off the bat, it might take it a minute or so, or a few minutes for it to fill the chamber and get your mouse knocked out.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right. Another question here. Can we maintain both induction and surgery flow at the same time?
Let's see. Sorry, can you repeat that question one more time?
Can we maintain both induction and surgery flow, or like anesthesia levels, I guess, at the same time?
Yeah. So again, with the SomnoFlow and SomnoSuite is a single vaporizer unit. So whatever, whether you're using the induction flow rate or the maintenance flow rate, you'll have to just kind of stick with that one flow rate. Again, you could either use either one or kind of adjust it to whatever you need as necessary for your procedures. But we cannot have, say, 2 separate lines coming from the single vaporizer with 2 different flow rates. So you will need an additional system to have 2 different flow rates running.
Mm-hmm. Okay, makes sense.
Yep.
Great. Another question here concerning personnel safety. I see we're using the device on a tabletop. Mm-hmm. Is this device safe to use with only the canister? And have you tested it with monitoring badges?
Yes. So we actually have done in-house dosimeter studies for waste anesthetic gas exposures. So we can send that chart to you if you would like to reach out to me, and I could forward that info to you as well. And then let's see, there is another part of the question I didn't answer. Where'd it go?
Have you tested it with monitoring badges?
Oh, yes. So we did do in-house dosimeter studies for that. Basically, with the Somno systems, the isoflurane was undetectable. So again, I could send you that chart that shows all the different graphs for that as well.
Yeah, we actually have it loaded in our handout. So I've pinned it to the top. It's called SF waste gas exposure results. So you should be able to take a look at that little chart. I'm not sure if that's the chart that you're referencing, Fred.
Yeah, I believe so. Let me take a quick view. Yep.
Perfect. So yeah, if you want to download that, you can do that at the top of your interactivity panel. The last question that we have here is, what is the flow rate of oxygen or ambient gas that needs to be used with the system?
What is, sorry. What is the flow rate of oxygen or ambient air? Okay, so in terms of the flow rate for either your oxygen or ambient air that needs to be used, that's kind of, we kind of leave that up to you in terms of what you need to get done for your procedures. Generally, from what I've seen in the past, few customers visits that I've done, most customers that I've visited, they tend to use a higher flow rate with a higher percentage, at least for the induction. And then when they're ready to transfer their animal from the induction chamber to the face mask, once they have them on the face mask, they'll go ahead and lower the flow rate as well as a percent ISO, just to maintain them at a nice anesthetic plane while they perform their procedures. Again, that might vary depending on the type of procedure you're using or you're performing, as well as the kind of even the setup that your SomnoFlow or SomnoSuite is in. So, sorry, I can't give you a exact value there, but you'll have to kind of play around to see what works best for you.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that was the last question that came in. I'm not going to close it here, though. I'm just going to draw your attention to a different article. But before I do, just want to encourage you, if you do have any questions, please submit them now. We'll definitely have Fred get to them if you submit them during the demo today. And while we wait for you to submit those, I'm going to draw your attention to this blog post. It is a post about maintaining the right concentration for rodent anesthesia protocols. So check that out. If you have any questions, you can always email the Kent team. We do have a new question that's come in.
Okay.
The question is, have you seen variability in different animal strains like C57 and DBA2Js?
Oh, that's a good question. DBAs, I miss those. Anyway, sorry. Have you seen variability in different animal strains? Hi, Sophie, by the way. I personally have not seen any differences. I do believe that I have heard people talk about slight differences in variability in using different animal strains. I cannot speak to that at this moment, but I can go ahead and follow up with my colleagues to see if they have noticed anything.
Okay, fantastic. I don't see any other questions coming in, so I think I'm going to call it there. But Fred, I really wanted to thank you so much for your time today and your expertise. It was a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And this page, once the webinar is over, I'll be ending it in a few minutes, will redirect you to a survey. We'd love to get your feedback on your experience today. And then you'll also be able to submit any additional questions that you have. You can either email them to Fred, his email's up on the screen still, or you can submit them in that survey. Thanks so much for being here with us today. I know everyone has busy schedules, so we appreciate you attending live, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.